Happy post-International Tabletop Day. This is the Roll for Crit podcast, the official podcast for the online board game store, rollforcrit.com. Watch, shop, play. I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I believe I am Will Keeler. I'm not sure.
Last time that I checked, your birth certificate and license, which I do now and then.
All right, good. Because I sort of just woke up recently in a mental hospital, you know.
I know.
With weird scrawlings all over the walls.
It's something that happens to all of us at some time or another in our lives. I hope everybody did have a good tabletop day. We will talk about our experiences later in the show. But there are some new happenings that happened, one of which we alluded to on our last episode.
Right, because we didn't really have enough information then, but we wanted to know what other people felt.
They did finally release the first gameplay details for Modiphius's Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures game, which is going to be released in November of this year, and it sounds pretty cool. So it's based on the Fallout universe.
Yeah.
They referenced things from, Nuka-Cola, Sanctuary
the classic
Hills,
ones.
Red Rocket. So there's going to be all kinds of different miniatures and settlements and different types of buildings that you're going to be able to work with. And there are a few different modes that sound pretty cool, including a narrative campaign that goes through an entire story arc, as well as randomly generated missions that you can do just one-offs as well. There's co-op, so you can actually play against an AI deck, or you can do PvP or tournament mode. So that sounds pretty cool. And there's, of course, a system to, if you're doing the campaign, upgrade and get perks between encounters like you would in the game of Fallout.
Right.
And we've seen some of the miniatures and stuff, and they look pretty cool. You're the big Fallout guy here. So what are your hopes and dreams?
My biggest hopes would be for the narrative campaign, at least for the one that comes with I assume the base, we'll call it, because I don't know exactly the
I think
product
Modiphius usually does like a base, yeah.
Right, but since the miniatures, I don't want to assume anything, but that it's not based on any of the actual games. It's your own story, because not only that, I think you could easily be like, this is the Voltor, which we can pretty much see one on there. This is you, write your name and perks and stuff, which you can easily get the feeling of Fallout in the board game, I mean, it's an RPG in essence.
Yeah, no, I think that would be definitely the right way to go. You definitely want, and it's because there's such an expansive world, and it just seems made for new lore to be put into it.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be disappointing to go through Fallout 3.
I do think what they would be awesome for them to do is maybe later on make sort of short stories where you can play through, or one-off scenarios of some of the famous moments. Like, for me, one of my favorite parts was in the first DLC for Fallout 3, which actually, unlike most of these open worlds, which are like, instead of ending the endgame boss, go over here. It was actually after the main storyline. Okay. In which you pretty much take on the last of, I forget what the enemy group for the Iron Brotherhood was. It was like the Enclave. Okay. And you have this mobile base, you have to go in and destroy it. Like, if that would be a cool thing, like sort of everyone's one-offs of some of people's favorite moments, and that way you could throw in some of the favorite characters, because whether you like the game or not, usually people still had favorites. Like, everyone loved Nick Valentine from 4. So like if he made an appearance or something.
Well, I guess it's miniature, so you don't really have a character, but you have lots.
Right, but I mean, even if you want to make a story with him, you always could be like, this token represents Nick.
Right.
So even if you didn't have a mini yet,
to get to do a mission or whatever it is. I said co-op, but I didn't say you can also do solo play in there as well. Right. So
well, I assume since you added co-op in there, I mean, I definitely want to do both, because I mean, Fallout is my solo game. That's one of the reasons why I like it. Right. But it would be fun to sort of get that feeling of the Wasteland with someone, because that's one of the things, the Fallout worlds are always about you're that one man who changes it, whether it's for good or for bad. But bringing in a co-op, I think, would bring a really interesting take to the Fallout universe, which it has not seen yet. And I think that board games are a perfect place for that. I know there was like an MMO in the works, but it got canceled. It's some weird thing like that. And I'm really glad they aren't just sticking to like 4. I'm saying 4 just because it's the recent, but really any single one. Because, I like, my favorite is 3. And so I would be really disappointed. And I'm sure there are people who'd be like, I really like the classics, not when you have made it a first-person shooter.
Right, right. Well, we did get one comment from the Peanut Gallery that I'm going to bring up from our friend.
You mean the Meeple Gallery?
There you go. That's now the name of the segment, the Meeple Gallery. Falcon Ash K pointed out that he played a turn-based Fallout game on his PC back in the 80s, and then there was Fallout Brotherhood of Steel for PS2, which was also fun.
Right, that was like a weird spin. Like, I know it's not...
Like he says action RPG.
Yeah, I think, because I think the turn-based one might actually be the original Fallouts.
Oh, that might be what he's thinking of. It would be cool to see a rad Scorpion mini in the game.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, definitely there's plenty of enemies. Like, I'm excited. Like, I really hope they do... The one thing I really loved about 4 was the Death Closet, because size. I felt like they're much bigger, because they graphically could. And just imagine this giant Death Claw miniature, and you just see that hit the board, just like...
yeah, that would be good.
But
it definitely sounds cool. I mean, it's I would love to see it. I can't believe this doesn't exist. A traditional role-playing game based on.
No,
Fallout.
I'm actually really shocked there isn't an MMO, not MMO book, but an RPG book, because I feel like it's definitely big enough that they won't clash with each other, and maybe that's part of my reasons. I think 4 clashes with 3. But this is not the time and place for me to whine about that.
Another podcast.
To the disagreeables. No. But I'm really excited for this. It's definitely a world I love. And it just fits, I feel like, board game so well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see this spin off into more
I'm sure it's excited for you because you're like, I don't have to worry about it because Will's going to buy it.
Yeah, it'll be great. I get to play all that stuff from you. So again, that's in November, so look forward to that. And it's Modifius, and they have a pretty good track record as far as the miniatures are concerned. And then there's another big license that is also an RPG, but this time the tabletop variety. Catalyst Game Labs is actually teaming up with Wizards of the Coast, and they are releasing a brand new deck building game called Dragonfire, based on D&D, but the mechanics are actually from their system from Shadowrun Crossfire, hence Dragonfire, Crossfire. So this is outside of there are those WizKids Dungeons & Dragons board games, but this is definitely the first Dungeons & Dragons deck building game.
Right.
Which is kind of cool. Basically, you're going to be choosing your traditional races and classes from Dungeons & Dragons. We haven't played Crossfire, but having read up on some of it, you can see it on the shelf back there. We actually have a copy.
It's one of those things that it's like we get it and it just falls because we never get the right amount of people or stuff.
Yeah, but basically, mostly like a traditional deck building game, you've got your lineup. Cards do replace as soon as you get them. It's not like Dominion where they're preset. It's where it's a random lineup. And they said in Shadowrun, it's a lot about there's only one currency from the cards. So your attacks are all from cards. So it's not like Legendary where sometimes you have buying or attacking.
It's more like the DC.
Yeah, more like that. And and like this one will also have a progression system with a campaign where you actually can level up and get points throughout story missions and things like that. So it sounds pretty cool. It's pretty popular. It's fully cooperative also, which is also good. But I mean, it seems like a natural fit, I guess, since Shadowrun was an RPG. Why not adapt a different RPG?
And I know the Pathfinder card game is also a very popular one.
Right.
I think it works as a good sort of bridging point for maybe some people who aren't nearly as able to play without nothing, so to speak. Because the RPG really, I think a lot of it does rely on you just picturing yourself, and the monsters and stuff.
Right. For people who aren't as imaginatively inclined, or who maybe just
don't want to spend hours on a session.
Yeah. There are many reasons you might not play an RPG, like we didn't for many years. But yeah, it sounds kind of fun, and it's cool to see the D&D franchise going into a new place.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the ones that started off with Pathfinder and D&D. Really, and Shadowrun, we're gonna throw that in there too. But they've done a little bit more, I think, because I think they have had some video games recently.
Yes, there are Shadowrun games.
All 3 of them, because they've made their
D&D video games, to be fair. But yeah,
but all 3 of them, I feel like need to start spreading out outside of the RPG, because I think they have the elements at this point, because they've made so many extra stories and stuff to really spread out. Like, I'm excited to hear about a D&D movie, because that doesn't really mean like I mean, back in the 80s, you expect something really cheesy.
Right.
But I feel like now we can get something really epic and interesting from either of those three I mentioned. Like I think I could, if I heard them coming out with a movie, because it also doesn't mean, like when you hear something like recently like Power Rangers Ghost in the Shell, two copyright things, you know, if you're a fan of it, you're like, oh, I hope they don't ruin this character because, you know, because those are RPGs, there's no really ruining as much, because it gives the director a lot more freedom, which makes it a lot more exciting if you hear a director you like, you know, getting the...
Sort of like how I feel Magic could do the same thing. Then they kind of tried, like they had the board game that they just stalled out and didn't go anywhere. But I'm sure we've brought it up. A Magic movie or something in the same way would be cool. That does. Characters.
I do, and that's the problem. I think Magic boxed itself in a good and a bad way. You know, it's a double-edged sword with its planeswalkers. They've made them mascots, and I would love to see them on the screen. Problem is, though, now you have expectations to fit.
Right. Well, they'll fit inside this convenient box for this deck building game.
Maybe they should talk to them about making the Magic deck building game.
That could be confusing. I want to play Magic cards? What are these? Oh yeah, these are different. But this is Dragonfire, and we will find out what's going on with that later. One more story for today. This is a small thing, but I thought it was interesting because we've never talked about it, and I feel like no one ever talks about it.
The rash on your back.
Yeah. Look at this thing. No, the Mensa. Every year, they actually choose a selection of games that they give the Mensa Select sticker to. So, like, the only one I can think of is Forbidden Desert as a Mensa Select sticker. And they announced what the ones are for 2017. You can see them behind us, but I'll call them out for you. Imagine, Around the World in 80 Days, the Harry Potter deck building game, Clank, and Amalgam. Some of these games I'd never heard of or didn't know anything about. Harry Potter is the only one I've actually played. Clank we've heard a lot about. It's supposed to be very good.
I know Around the World in 80 Days because we were selling it.
Yeah,
we're currently sold out of this recording. But.
So that's a popular one. I was kind of surprised about Harry Potter. So I looked up like what exactly does this mean, right? And on their website they say members of Mensa each year meet over one weekend to play and rate the year's newest board games, and they award the top 5. The sticker is supposed to indicate that it is original and creative, challenging, a good value, easy to comprehend and play, and fun. That's a lot.
All right,
a lot of bullets.
I'm sorry. I want to then challenge the Harry Potter one. It's a deck building game based off the movies, which they didn't even make original art for.
Yeah, that is not an original concept.
I am challenging the Harry Potter one.
Challenging I could accept, but
no, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying I want to hear.
No, original in concept, it's not.
But you actually played it. So.
I did. I mean, it's fun if you're a Harry Potter
fan.
I'm
not saying it's not fun.
No, I understand. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Just like if they put the DC deck building game on there, I would challenge that too.
So that's why I'm like, this is a weird thing, and I wonder. I don't know anything about like the Mensa organization. What is their how many people really care, are looking for these stickers, and how does it affect their purchase? And also, it sounds like if they play these games over a weekend, you probably don't have a lot of time to try.
Well, definitely certain games get knocked out there, because then things like Descent, you're not doing that over a weekend.
Right, sure, or yeah, any. Yeah, long form.
Probably not Arkham either, because that's going to probably take up half the weekend.
Right. Also, because it's 8 years old. but
well, I'm saying games like that.
No, I get it. So I don't know. I wonder how many people are even aware of this, because it was just something I was vaguely kind of remembered seeing a sticker on a box somewhere, but I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Well, I think it's still something, because getting that. Whatever it is, if someone sees like, oh, it's some kind of reward thing they've won.
Yeah, it makes the publisher feel good. Like I made a game for smart people, I guess.
Someone should just start making stickers. It's like, good guy award. It's just that company's just like Fantasy Flight, just like they put stickers on. It's like, well, it won something, but it's just
that's a good idea. But because my aunt recently wanted to get a board game as a present, and I was like, oh, Forbidden Desert, that's what I picked. And she was like, saw the Mensa sticker, and she was like, oh, is this like going to be too hard for them? They're like 10 years old. I'm like, no, it's fine. They'll figure it out. But this doesn't mean that this is you have to be a rocket scientist to play the game. I don't know. I'd love to hear other people's takes on the Mensa, if any members.
Or if they challenge our challenge.
That's right. Explain to us why the Harry Potter deck building game is original and unique. I don't know.
Watch that. They actually never played deck building game before that.
Maybe, except if they played Clank after that, they wouldn't have. At any rate, we have some Kickstarter picks this week, and this first one,
yes, is Farsight. Now, this is a board game, sort of the post-apocalyptic future. You know, there aren't countries, so people are warring against each other. Companies. So you play as the two fighting sides, but it's really cool as you're fighting in the post-apocalyptic wastelands, not in the cities and stuff. And for your units, they actually are face down in the battle, so you don't know what you're charging into your enemies. It's sort of like Stratego, kind of.
Okay.
But when they see each other, they flip. But you actually have a second little board, and this actually is where you have like spies and snipers. So you can actually mark out areas and like see in advance and stuff, or get an advantage against certain units.
Is the second little board like Spectrops, where you're like marking?
I think it looked like a small grid where marking and stuff.
But it's not like a different, like the other person can't go there. It's just representing what's on the field. Okay.
From what I can tell. So I thought that was really cool, because to me it had this whole secretive strategy. It has the fog of war built into it, which I don't think we see that often.
True. Yeah.
And because this is a horrific wasteland, there is an environment deck. So lightning bolts may start hitting, like fire may start. So that has that randomness of war that neither side can predict as much.
No, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I really liked it. And I should say the main robots are mechs. And what's nice also is the base game is actually about $50. The miniatures are not included. So you don't have to spend that, I think it's like 90 or something altogether. Or 190 for the whole game. And if you just want the miniatures, you can buy them separately too.
How does it work with the minis, since your units are phase?
Once you flip it out, you put the mini on so the cards have cool. And the miniatures are awesome. You can see in the picture behind us, but you can take a look. They're these awesome mechs.
Yeah.
So to me, this looked like a really fun, and I love the hidden style mechanic. So it should hit you if you like, miniatures. The miniatures look cool. It has a cool way of combining mech warfare that doesn't just like, there's mechs, that's it. There's actually like spies and snipers that can sabotage and do things. So I thought it brought a lot of fun, interesting stuff to the table. And of course, just as they like follow, I love the post-apocalyptic world.
And Farsight is a cool name. That goes, so like you said, $58 for just the core set, which for a big miniatures game, whether you pay for that or not, it's a pretty good, relatively standard lowish price for one of those kinds of games.
Right, but that's without the miniatures.
Right.
It's still pretty nice that they actually separated the two.
If you want a miniatures game without the miniatures and you don't have as much money, it's probably a good bet.
Because I hope maybe they'll sell the war chest separately, so you can maybe buy one and then get the other later.
That would be nice. That'd be nice. Add-ons, I don't know. So that's Farsight. Next, this game is called Barker's Row, and it
looks spooky.
It's a little spooky, a little eerie. You are all carnival barkers, hence the name of basically a freak show. And you're the guys who are calling out, "Come see the magnificent, the stupendous," and you're supposed to actually do that. The cards that you play will have words on them, and once you have a complete set, you read all the adjectives on it and reveal your thing. And basically, there's a deck of different types of cards. You're trying to get enough ones in the center to match the suits that you need. So, and then there's this, it looks like one of those towers, like one of the strength tests, you hit and the bell rings and it goes up. And you all start at number 4. So in the beginning, for instance, you need to match 4 of a suit to complete a set. Every time you complete one, you go up a level, and that requires more.
Okay.
So that's sort of their built-in catch-up mechanic. The better you're doing, the harder it is to complete something. And when you do complete it, you also have a little set of mini bleachers and these weird little meeples that are the people you attracted to come, and you put them in your seats, and they actually like the things that you're putting on, and they have different abilities. So it's a really unique concept. It sounds super simple. You're really just just playing cards, seeing their abilities, choosing from a deck, and trying to go for points. I think those abilities will add more of the interactive elements and things like that, but the presentation is really nice.
No, I mean, that sounds really fun. I mean, that definitely sounds like a game, almost party-ish, just to hear people, like, as you said, like, you know,
yeah.
See, the three-eyed mantis octopus girl.
Right, yeah, it's a little bit of that element of, like, I'm trying to think of a game, like maybe like the dinosaur game where you put the bones together. Dinosaur, what's that game called?
The Bone War? Or, I'm totally blanking on it.
I'll put up the box.
Yeah.
Bone Tycoon, Dinosaur Bones.
It's right over there too. The Great Dinosaur Rush.
Where you're kind of, it's not the focus of the game, but it's like a fun element that you're like, oh, look at my weird thing I made as well. So that is up for $29. And finally, this looks like to be another party-ish game, is it?
Yeah, it's called Bone. It stands for...
Boast or Not.
Yes. This actually comes from Korea.
Okay.
Or Korean designers. And he wanted to focus on the art, but the way it works, and the art's beautiful, it's pretty much a trick-taking game.
Okay.
So we each take turns, and there's 3 different colors. So when you play a color, let's say I played a yellow 1, then you play your colors and we look. If everyone played the same color, whoever has the highest number takes the trick.
Okay.
If there's different colors, there's actually a little, you have 3 little pogs of the other colors, whichever one's on top is the strongest. So if it's blue, red, yellow, blue would be strongest, even if you played a low number.
Okay.
And then once you win, blue actually goes down because blue's not as cool anymore. You know?
Okay, got it.
But at the end of each round, you see how many tricks people take. And because everyone's drunk, it's not whoever has the most tricks wins. It's actually whoever, you get like more points if you take no tricks.
Huh. Okay.
So it becomes just more fun of like not just higher numbers, but like trying to trick people and playing different cards so you don't win the tricks.
That's a fun. I like when games do that. It puts a spin on your traditional way of thinking, trying to do the worst.
And I like that the color wheel changes, so it's not just, so you have to actually think also like, not only if I might win this trick and gain a trick which will hurt me, but that'll make that color go down, and maybe that will help my hand out because I have more of a certain color.
It kind of sounds like a little bit like a Red 7, sort of
a little
that
bit.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess a lot of those games sort of have similar color and number playing mechanics. So that sounds fun. Boast or Not. I guess you want to or not to win. It goes for just $20,
Mm-hmm.
so a little light party game. So that sounds fun. Now, do you want to do some comments, or do you want to do our stream talk?
Let's hear from the Meeple Gallery.
All right, the Meeple Gallery.
We're calling that. That's it for now on.
It's a lot better than viewer mail. People will click on this. All right. I wanted to continue this ongoing conversation in video and text form about Rico Cordova and his war against seasons. Not really. But we had held discussion about the system, learning game systems,
right,
and drafting and everything. He said there's a difference, in my opinion, between most drafting games and Seasons or Magic the Gathering because there's a meta there. You need to know the entirety of the ability space to create a strategy. You don't need to know every card in Seven Wonders or Sushi Go, or he lists other examples. But some games like Magic or Twilight Struggle, which are extreme examples, you need to fully understand those systems, whereas he says something like, he says Tides of Time, even though it's so simple, is similar, where you do, even though there's only 9 cards or whatever, you kind of need to know all of them to really have a handle of the strategy, as opposed to other games which don't require more sessions. So I don't know.
No, those are fair points because
Magic
is the extreme. Like if you don't know how the mechanics work in the set, you can be in big trouble.
Right.
and there always will be those kind of games. It's a hard balance to make something that if every time you have a new player, at the table.
Yeah, no. And I think we talked a lot about that last week, so you can check out our comments from that. But it is interesting to keep thinking about the way different games work and how complicated they are or not. So thanks for that. Then we got one from Dave Dog.
Dave Dog?
Dave Dog, who saw us talking about the new...
It's like cat dog, half Dave, half dog.
That's exactly what it is. The new Warhammer edition. He says, your jaw would drop if you saw my collection. He has all these Warhammer 40k 7th edition figures and books, I assume, and whatever paraphernalia goes along with it. Not sure about all this free rulebook stuff, he says. Sounds a bit like they're doing an Age of Sigmar, making it simpler for people to get into it, dumbing it down. They claim they're not doing that, but I don't know, it sounds like at least one person is afraid that is what's happening here. Which, if you're a hardcore, longtime player of Warhammer, it would probably be a valid concern.
Well, yeah, I know the 5th edition, while, you know, we've liked it and stuff. Yeah, I've done Dragons.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the veteran players are really disappointed because they feel mechanically, you know, they don't have a lot of choices. It's, you know, it's not like when you level up, I could choose this, or this. It's just level up and get this. You know, it's very simple in their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a thing. But again, those old rule sets still exist, so they're always there for you to go back to if you really need them.
Well, the problem is the Torment is run.
That's true. Well, that's true.
Especially if his collection is as big as he says.
You'll have to set up your own tournament, or just hope that nobody else likes it, that crashes and burns. And then the Lomder had some clarifications for us about that new Ticket to Ride Germany game. He confirms our suspicions that it is meant to be a replacement to Markland, according to what he saw on the Days of Wonders website. That the original Markland was meant to be a small run thing, and so this is sort of now the official permanent addition to their collection for it, which is good to know. And he says some other things about Ticket to Ride that you can read in that comment as well. But that's cool. And Germany it still sounds fun. You can see our full comments on that again in the other video. I did just remember another Kickstarter that I thought looked interesting was we've heard about it, that one deck dungeon game. They put up an expansion for it, and I'm thinking about maybe backing for the original with the expansion because it's super funded, and we had talked. The guys from Hardback said he was playing it. It just like wasn't on my radar, but now I'm like, oh, this is like a good chance to try that out. I don't know, it sounded fun. So there's a bonus Kickstarter pick. Now we did.
Interesting, it came there.
I don't know why. I don't know why. It came in my head, and I wanted to mention it, and I didn't remember until now. So. We've had a stream on Tabletop Day.
Yep.
Played a bunch of games. If you missed it, don't feel too bad. We didn't really hype it up too much. It was more casual than most of our streams where we do crazy long periods of time. It was only for 6 hours, which sounds like a long time.
I only took off my shirt once.
Yeah, it was a new record for Roll for Crit streams. So we played a bunch of games. Most of them, I don't know how much we have to say because there's things we've talked about to death, I feel. We started with...
we didn't really want to do... We did one new game. Oh, it's new to you.
Right, we did Healing Blade Defenders of Soma, which was, you've talked about on the show, was that medical one versus all sort of puzzle strategy card game. And that was interesting because I did really well, and every turn was like, I don't know if I'm like just getting lucky or if this game is unbalanced somehow. But I don't know, what was your experience when you played with multiple people?
No, that's the only way you can play. I played solo.
Oh, I thought that multiple people could be the
I think there is a way to team up, but it's still, you know how like technically some other games that have multiple, really just two teams.
Okay. I don't. Oh no, I guess I just assumed. Interesting. Well, but you did play it. Who did you play it with?
I played it by myself. No, I did a solo.
Oh, I thought you played it with like Matt or Mark. You just said you wanted to.
Yeah, I want to because what you can do is if they're the vaccines and they're actually, in the medical profession, you can be like, all right. I'm covering up the shields. Tell me what can cure this.
So this was your first time playing with another person.
Yes.
So that is a very different experience.
And when you play the single, you don't play as the viruses. You play as the vaccines.
Which makes a lot of sense. It doesn't really. The other way wouldn't really work. But it was super fun. Even I was doing well. Like I said when we played, it felt like I was playing Dr. Mario. It really. It felt like I was playing a matching puzzle game.
Yeah, and it wasn't too bad on my side. partly because I'm like, all right, let's just throw these things down. Looks cool.
Yeah,
I like it's more like, to me, it felt more like being like a game master. Like I wasn't trying to beat you. I was more trying to, here's my weird puzzle. Can you solve it?
Yeah. I don't know that I would want to play that role, or at least I would try it once, but it seems not as fun to me.
I guess to me it was fine. Remember, there's also the deck we didn't use them of like I can upgrade and make it so like at the start of each turn I can play 4 maybe instead or something.
Right, there was that balancing cards, which are nice. But it's pretty fun again.
You also, like, my perfect turns, you just had the pieces.
I know, but it felt really good though, because it was very satisfying. It felt like clearing a Tetris line. It was like I matched them perfectly. Like it was a fun puzzle. So that was fun. So see the other video for more details about that game. But that was cool. I think the next thing we played was Scribe's Arena, which is the Hangman Magic game, which again is a fun game.
It really is one of our favorite word games. Too bad I don't think it was really as mass produced. I'm really lucky I got on that Kickstarter.
No, for sure, because it's like if it's not out there, I would love to. A second edition seems like it would be great for that game, especially because there are some, as we ran into in that video, some I think because of the language translations, like some of the cards I wish were a little more specific, or the rule book was a little clearer on some things. But
mostly on pronouns.
Yeah, pronouns. that's one issue. But because it is Hangman, like you're not really caring that much about the rules differences. But it's always fun. And then Garrett used a word that he used already in another game. So I think maybe I like the other mode we played better, but I'm trying to remember what the difference was.
It was you had points, so you could. It was like first to.
And you got more points for guessing a word, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that. I like that feels more special when you do that.
Yeah, I just chose that one because I thought it would be quicker.
Yeah, I mean, it was still
I thought.
Right, you should have known better. But that was fun. Then we played a few rounds of Coup. We messed up our first couple, which was kind of sad. But we used those new promo cards. So we had the Jester.
Yeah, and the Politician.
Bureaucrat. Yeah, what'd you think about them?
Bureaucrat's really nice because I think it's much more balanced for the Duke. The Joker is really powerful, especially when you have someone who can like count cards and get, be like, all right, he's got a 50% chance of having that card.
Yeah, I think I would say that the Jester should
Jester, not Joker.
Yeah, same. He even looks like the Joker. Should be included for bigger groups,
right?
I think would be better. We only had 4. I think you're right.
You can get perfect information really fast.
But the Bureaucrat, I also agree, because you're much less likely to, whereas everybody lies about being the Duke, you're much less likely to do that because you also have to give a coin up. It's not as strong. But that was cool. It was also still fun.
Right. Was there one other promo card we didn't use?
No, I think those are the only 2. Oh, well, there's the one we didn't use, which was the Inquisitor.
Right.
And I guess we've never used it.
No, because it replaces the ambassador. It also replaces the ambassador.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that really confused us, because I was like, these were in here. I don't know. We had a lot of issues that day. We should have, like I said, we should have watched our How to Play video. And then I think the only other game we played was Colosseum, right?
Yeah.
We've also talked about this before on the show, but I wanted to talk about it more because I feel like after playing it that I maybe don't like it anymore that much. I don't know. I've sort of soured on it. I don't know what your opinion is in general at this point.
I mean,
I'll go into more detail on mine.
It's fine and fun for me to play. My only big issue is I feel.
This is the original edition, to be clear, not the new Tasty Minstrel one.
So we don't know how much difference if it solves. It's really the pieces to build your events. I feel so limited in that you have to choose one path, and if anyone else goes a similar path than you're pretty much doomed.
No, I completely agree, and it's almost your starting hand really determines your fate, because whatever your starting thing is, that's what you're going to try to start going for.
And not only that, there's certain pieces I think that just become dead weight the boat and the chariot in particular.
Yeah, unless you are specifically like boats.
Right, but I mean, if you're not, it's not like there's some of them you can use for multiple things. But those two, I feel like if you're not going all in on them, they're just dead weight. And then unless you better hope someone else does, because then no one's gonna trade for it.
Right.
Like if there's a way you can maybe give away a boat for a random one or something.
And that's I think that's relates to my main problem with the game, which is what I realized that
By turn like 2 or 3, you were doomed.
I feel like, well, by 2 or 3, whether you're doomed or not, you know exactly what you're doing. And I feel like every time I've played Colosseum has felt the same. And like I enjoyed it the first time, but it's sort of like Settlers of Catan, I feel, where the strategy is so determined that it's just try to get this color, buy these upgrades in almost the same order every time.
Well, that's what I think a lot of times for Euro games my issue is. I feel like it's always, all right, can you do the one strategy? You're in.
Right, yeah, which is kind of a bummer. It's not really my thing. And you also brought up the trading mechanic, and I was thinking that also reminded me of Catan. I'm trying to think of a game where there's a really good trading mechanic, because in games like this I'm always just thinking,
Monopoly.
If I'm behind, I just never want to trade, especially with Garrett, because I'm just assuming, why would he trade with me if it was going to give me a leg up? And maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. Maybe I should just be more casual, and sometimes I do, and then I always just feel bad about it. But it seems like a hard thing to pull off, the trading mechanic in games, because especially when that's your whole game. Like it's dependent on what you have, and then so you either just go with the flow, or you're over analyzing, trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do and how many points they're going to get. So that's kind of a bummer for me too. One thing I did see, I don't know much about the new edition, but I did see one change when I was reading about it, which is you are now, in the new version, only able to get one of those medals per round.
Oh, and so Garrett,
he had a bunch.
Yeah.
So when you move those figures, even if you land on multiple medal spaces, you're only allowed one per round, which I think makes sense as a balancing thing. I just wish, I would like it if there were maybe, I know people would hate this, maybe different events with different combinations, and maybe you had different ones each game.
Oh no, that's what I said.
Something.
Like, I even like it if there was a boat one that didn't have soldiers or something.
Even if it, or even if it was predetermined, but you got to print a lot more of those cardboard pieces and everything. But I don't think it's a bad game. It's just very
well. It also makes me think of how, I know with your problem with Eclipse, I feel like this game has it too. With which you get, it's almost like I want to take an event even if I don't have all the pieces. Like you want to go bankrupt as you like.
Oh right, because you have the minus points and everything.
Because things like that. It's just,
that is a little weird. And it just seems like you have to go. You need to roll the 2 dice.
I think it maybe also is because you have 5 rounds no matter what.
Yeah, that's true, which is nice because it makes your game end.
Right, but
that definitely is like you have to do certain things by a certain round, or you're just not going to win. At least we've never seen really crazy comebacks, I don't think.
Not in any of the Euro games we've played. Usually, once one person gets their leg up, they're running.
But that's Colosseum. I'd love to hear people's defenses on that. Or if you played the new edition, does it do anything to change any of that for you? And did you play any games on Tabletop Day? Tell us what you did to celebrate. And if you watched our stream, it's still up. You can actually go watch it right now if you missed it and you're really bored for 5.5 hours. If you want to see us do more stuff like that, because we thought it'd be fun maybe to do more casual ones for a while rather than just the big events all the time. You can comment right here on this video, or you can email us, rollforcrit@gmail.com.
And of course, we're in all other kind of places: Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter, many, many more. You can see them all around us. Then there's our website, rollforcrit.com, where you can buy games, not Colosseum yet, original or new edition. We used to have that way back in the day. But lots of other games, some of the ones we talked about, probably Shadowrun Crossfire, you can look for those. Plus we have all our videos. We have just finished putting out all those interviews we've been doing from PhD Speed Gaming, so definitely watch those because there's a ton of cool information that you can find in there. And otherwise, I think that's all that we have.
Yeah, so for now, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and this has been Roll for Crit.